Hey, it's Keith with Credential Thursday, our longer form of Credential Thursday. And for this one, I wanted to talk about a class that I just went to this week. Actually, last week. Yeah, last week. Gainesville Winnelson partnered with United Sales Agency, Doug Dyson and his crew, to host Atlas Filtri USA. So, Atlas Filtri is a company out of Italy, and they do water filtration systems, cartridges, whole home systems, all kinds of great things to help filter water. They do a lot in other spaces as well, but this was focused more toward plumbers that were in the room from a residential side and commercial for that matter, but a lot of residential service was there. So Michael Pennington, their VP of sales, gave a very detailed presentation on it. Michael knows a lot. And as a newbie, a lot of that stuff is just flying over my head. But one of the things I did understand is they've been able to develop really good leave behind, and actually not necessarily leave behinds, but brochures that really talk through what these different filters do and what they can take out of your water, and also some cartridges that'll put things back in your water that you want. And so and also what order those cartridges go in if you're going to have a multi-stage filtration system. They can be small. They can be systems that go up under a kitchen sink all the way to a whole home filtration system. It's really fascinating. And it's, they're really a hands-on manufacturer when it comes to wanting to know what the plumbers know, what questions the plumbers have, which the questions the plumbers have are often the questions that customers have. And so they've got systems that work for people that are on municipal water systems, if I can say that correctly. So if you get your water from a local water authority, so in our area, Jackson County Sewer and Water Authority, Barra County, Gwinnett County, a lot of the municipal systems have their own water treatment facilities, and then they pump water out to your homes and businesses. Then they also have systems that can be custom built for people that are on a well. And some people wonder, well, what's the difference? When you're getting water out of a well, oftentimes it comes with a lot of other things that you might not want in your system, because depending on where the water table is at different times of year, depending on rainfall, you might have times where the water table is kind of high because there's a lot of rain. The water table might be low because there's not a lot of rain. And so different things happen to that water source during those different times. And so there might be more sediment in the water at times. There might be more things in that groundwater when there's a lot more rain and there's a lot more runoff that's getting into the ground and then going into these wells. So with that, those water filtration systems have to work differently. And so one of the first things and a lot of water filtration systems have these, but they have a heavy sediment self-cleaning filter. It's pretty interesting the way it works. So this one in particular, the water goes in and pushes out through this spin down system, and it's pretty interesting. And then it actually self cleans. So at some point, it's got a kind of a timer, if you will, on it, and then every once in a while it self flushes, and so that way it gets that sediment out. But you want to get a lot of that sediment out of the water before it goes through your other cartridges, because if you've got larger particles, you want to get that filtered out so that then what's left is what the other cartridges can take out. So like a carbon cartridge, a carbon block cartridge is going to take out a lot of stuff that's really tiny, but you don't want it to get clogged with a bunch of larger sediment, because then it's going to be clogged and not be able to do the actual filtering that you want it to do. Then there's other filters that they have that filter out even smaller particles. They can get down to, gosh, I can't remember what they were telling me. I think it was like down to point. Let's see, that one goes down to 5 microns. There's another one that gets down even smaller. It's insane, like how small in terms of the microns these things get down to. And so they can filter out a lot. And which for some people are starting to get more and more concerned about what's in our water systems. As good as our municipal systems do of treating the water, there's still some things that get through. There's a growing concern over PFAS or PFAS, polyfluoro. I can't remember the whole thing. Anyway, the plastics, the microplastics that are finding their way into our water systems. There's a growing concern over those, and so some of these filter systems you can get something that actually filters that out. Um, some want a fluoride something to take the fluoride out of the water. Some want to add fluoride back in on their own. Um, Arsenic's another one that people are concerned about. Radium. Um, there's a few things, and in some parts of the country, these are bigger concerns than in our part of the country. But still, these filters are pretty incredible. The systems themselves are much more cost effective than some of the other manufacturers. What's different about these is the cartridges. So the cartridges do cost a little bit more. And typically they need to be changed every 12 to 18 months. But they're highly efficient systems. They keep the water flowing really well, which is always for those who are not in the know about water filtration, one of the issues that you have to be aware of when you're going to add, let's say, a whole home filtration system. One of the issues you have to be aware of is the flow rate of the water coming out of that water filtration system. You still want to have enough water pressure coming out. You're going to have a water pressure drop coming through a water filtration system. You just are. So you want it to still not affect your water pressure too much that you're losing enough water pressure that something's not working right in your home. So that's always a concern there, is to make sure that you take that into account into your system. So that's another thing that was talked about, was the effect on water pressure, how often you have to change out the filters. For the plumbers, these are fairly simple to service. You and the public won't have access to these. Atlas Filtri does not sell in big box stores. They don't sell retail. They only sell through the plumbing supply chain. And so they are exclusive to plumbers. And I think part of that is because the way they built their systems don't work with other filters besides the ones that they have. And I know some of y'all are out there like, they sound like the Apple of water filtration systems. Like you have to buy into their whole, ecosystem. But at the same time, if it does what it's supposed to, then why not? Why not buy into a system like that? So it got really down to the brass tacks when the plumbers were asking the questions, like, how long do I have to wait to get a system if it's really specific? They have some great literature that plumbers can take to a customer and say, okay, what are your biggest concerns about your water? And they can walk through some specific cartridges that address those. And they also get your water tested. If you're on a municipal water system, there is a published report about what your water utility system puts out there. It's an average. It's not specific to your home, but like, let's say out here in Jackson County and every other water authority has to publish a report about what's in their water. And so you can go look that up. Again, the industry would say, well, that's good to know, but that's an average for the entire system. If you're 10 miles from your local water source, from your municipality's water source, a lot can happen over 10 miles of piping. So they do recommend, whether you're on a municipal system or on a well system, get your water tested. If you're on a well, at some point you've had to have your well tested, hopefully. But if it's a new well, you had to have that well tested before you could actually use it, to know what's in it. So have the water tested. Gainesville Winnelson, Tim and his crew, they work with the plumbers to get that done rather quickly. They've got some testing devices. Also, you can use the UGA extension office. to get your water tested, to see what's in it and get that report. Once they have that report, then they can look at that and give you a profile of what would best work for your situation. And then they can essentially custom build a filtration system for you. They can be just a single cartridge. They can be up to 3 or 4 cartridge systems, just depending. They have reverse osmosis systems that can actually, they can dial that in to actually return to you alkaline water, which is pretty impressive too. But yeah. Oh, and by the way, Atlas Filtri, the company, they're moving more and more of their production, particularly these systems, more and more of that production is coming to the United States, or at least North America. A lot of it is in the United States. So I think by some point this year, next year, it's going to be like 80% of what you can buy from them. I think I got that number right. It's about 80% of what you can order for your home here from them is going to be made here. So, and they, interesting enough, Michael Pennington, the VP of sales, told us that they don't do any production at all in China, which I thought was interesting for a company that makes a lot of products when it comes to water filtration. So, anyway, Credential Thursday, I thought this was a good one to do just because it's not like we left this class with a piece of paper saying we know everything about Atlas Filtri. We don't. But we had the proper contacts between Tim, for plumbers at least. For plumbers, they now had the proper contact from Tim to Doug, United Sales Agency, and his team, directly to Michael Pennington at Atlas Filtri. We have all those contacts for plumbers to get in touch with if they've got a customer saying they've got a particular situation that they want to get the right filtration system for X, Y, and Z. And the local plumbers had that. I enjoy being in the room with all these different companies. Lane from Gainesville Plumbing was there. Abraham Cancel and a couple of his guys from Condition Air Systems was there. Riverside Plumbing, Peter from Riverside Plumbing. I finally got to meet him. He has, if y'all don't know, he's got some fun social media ads out there for Riverside Plumbing up in Gainesville. I got to meet Peter and one of his plumbers. It was great to meet them. Mastercraft Plumbing was there. And Tim and a couple of the guys that work, in the warehouse, working on orders and working on customer interaction, plumbing customer interaction for Tim, they were there as well. So it was a great class. I really enjoyed that. Shout out to Hall County schools. So Tim was able to use one of the conference rooms at the Oaks at Lanier College and Career Academy. So their college and career academy there in Hall County, they've got this essentially conference center almost. They've got a student-run bistro in there. They've got a gift shop in there. It's pretty amazing. And then they've got conference rooms and those can be rented out for businesses to use. So if you're up in that Hall County area and you need a nice little place to have a meeting or a little conference, whatever, check out Lanier College and Career Academy. The Oaks is called the Oaks at Lanier College and Career Academy. Nice facility, super nice folks. Had all the connections for the technology and everything for us to watch presentations, and it was great. So again, for those who don't know, that are outside the skilled trades, this type of stuff is going on all the time. Whether it's your electricians, your HVAC technicians, your plumbers, your general contractors, they're all learning more and more what the new products are, how they can help their customers. Just know that that's going on out there. And for those who want to get in the trades, that's another thing to know is the newer technology that's coming out that can make our homes safer, more efficient, brighter in terms of lighting, all those things. I would say to me, that was the big takeaway for me about Atlas Filtri is it's not just about plumbers being able to offer another product. It's them being able to offer homeowners a greater level of health when it comes to their water source. So it was really great. So again, Credential Thursday, Atlas Filtri, Michael Pennington, appreciate his time. Doug Dyson, United Sales Agency, and Tim Davis, Gainesville Winnelson for hosting. And it was a great time. And again, Just goes to show there's always something to learn in whatever field you're in on this Credential Thursday. Have a good one.